Welcome back to another video, and in this video we're going to be continuing on with our iOS development with UIKit tutorial series, and in this particular tutorial we are going to be taking a look at how we can use the UIRefreshControl to refresh our table view inside of a UITableView controller. Now, a UITableView controller has a neat convenience property called refresh control. This is a UI refresh control. It's an optional UI refresh control, so you don't have to have one if you don't want one. But if you want a convenient way to pull down your table view and refresh everything without rolling one yourself, this is a great way to do it. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we want to do is when we pull down our table view to refresh, we want to call retrieve projects. That's pretty much all we want to do. We want to send a GET request to our server to get an up-to-date list of projects and then split them into the different sections and do all that sort of thing, right? So let's go ahead and get started in Xcode by going to the top of our controller. And I'm going to say var refresh control equals UI refresh control. All right. So there we go. Now the next thing we need to do is inside of view did load, after we register our cell, I'm going to say table view dot, or not table view. We'll say refresh control equals dot refresh CTRL. I'm going to change the name of our refresh control here. We'll say CTRL like that. And so now we have our refresh control on our table view controller assigned, but we're not done. Right now our refresh control doesn't do anything. So what we need to do is we need to add a target to our refresh control. And we need to react specifically to the value changed event. So let's go ahead and say refresh CTRL dot add target. We'll say self, and we'll say number selector, and we'll say retrieve projects. For dot value changed. Now let's add the objc annotation to our function here. We'll say at objc like that. and save. Okay, so we have one error here. So that should, let's try to run it. Okay, so it's not, okay, so it doesn't want, let's see, let's get rid of those parentheses for calling it. And there we go, it works. Now let's save our code here. And so here's our application. What we can do, I will actually run this on my phone so we have a better idea of what we're doing. So we're going to go to the toolbar, activity view. I want my iPhone here. We'll run this. Okay. And I will unlock my phone, let it load and do its thing, and then we'll screen mirror to the Mac so you can see what I'm doing. All right.
Control center. Screen recording. Low power mode. Screen mirroring.
So we want screen mirroring.
LG with an ST. Joshua's Mac Mini.
We want the Mac Mini. Okay.
Screen mirroring. Heading.
So here we are.
Tutorial Lab UIKit. Active project. Active projects. Close project. Close projects.
Now, of course, on my phone, you're not going to be able to see any of the projects that I have on my server because the phone is on a different localhost context than the Mac is. But we should still be able to use our refresh control. So I'm going to turn off voiceover here.
Smart. Selected. Voiceover.
And when we try to swipe, we can get our refresh control. You see that little circular activity indicator kind of does its thing there. And it will continue to try to refresh until you tell it to stop. So how do you tell it to stop? Well, let's go ahead and go back into Xcode. All right, and we'll go into our main view controller here. And what we'll do here is we'll say refresh CTRL dot. So we can say if refresh CTRL dot is refreshing, then we want to stop refreshing. So we'll say refresh CTRL dot end refreshing. There we go. We'll save that, and there we go. Now, why are we enclosing this in an if statement to detect if it's refreshing? Well, if you remember, we're also calling retrieve projects as the view finishes loading. So when the view is done loading, we call this method, and at that point, we're not refreshing using the refresh control, right? So we're going to avoid doing any unnecessary method calls this way. We can save this, run it. All right, I'm gonna open that up here. All right, phone. Okay, there we go. VoiceOver, you can stop speaking now. We want screen mirroring. I want the Mac Mini here.
Screen mirroring. Heading.
Okay, so here we are again. Here's our app. Again, you can see the two empty sections.
The word. Selected. VoiceOver. Button.
I'm going to disable VoiceOver here. And when we swipe to refresh, it works. All right. So that pretty much is how we can use the refresh control to allow our data in our table view to refresh. Thank you all so very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.